We're going to get our first speaker, Commissioner Derek Simmons. The floor is yours, Mr. Simmons. Go ahead.
Thank you to everyone listening, present, and through the technology that we have available to us. I'd like to welcome you all, and this is one of the sessions that we have organized through the Committee of Constitutional Affairs, the road to more autonomy. And like we said in many forums through the radio, whether on radio, TV, or wherever, that we're going to be keeping other information sessions where you can involve yourself, where you can ask questions, and also we're going to be bringing in experts. Here we have some very knowledgeable persons with us. I'm honored also to be in their presence. We have, on my left, we have Mr. Bryson, who he lives in St. Martin, and he has a vault of information when it comes to constitutional affairs. Yeah, he's a constitutional lawyer. We have my colleague, Commissioner Woodley. Then next to him, we have Mr. Finis, who comes from Bonaire. Those of you, I don't think he is any stranger to some of us. And also, we have also with us Dr. Corbin. And all of them are involved in constitutional affairs. I'm not going to take up many time because we do not have a lot of time today, because there are other activities planned for this week, and we are privileged that they took the time to come here in St. Eustatius to give information. And for that, I thank you.
Very much, Commissioner. Our next speaker, will be Mr. Merkman.
Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to Statia, our distinguished panel. Mr. Corbin, we go a long way back. Mr. Finis, I've gotten to know recently, and Mr. Bryson, I knew Mr. Bryson as our independista. That's one of the first places that I met Mr. Corbin at, Mr. Bryson, at the community center, where it was a pleasure listening to you speak at that time. And I think that was in the early stages of after 1010, where St. Eustatius was really starting to define itself as to where it would go in the realm of things. I was saying to Mr. Corbin a couple of minutes ago that one of the first persons that really was very vocal as to that everybody going to have to stand up and show your allegiance as to what and where you stand. That was Mr. Buckle over there, George Buckle. He stopped me under Eddie grape tree. He told me, brother, this thing what we in is not for the weak. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. This fight that we are in is not for the weak. And if you waver, and we have seen over the years quite a number of our comrades have wavered, and when I say waver, I mean within the party that myself and the commissioner were in, we have seen people waver. And anytime you waver in this movement, you're gone. And I take great pleasure in standing here today and saying, listen, we are on this road and we are in for the whole hilt. There's no moving to the left or to the right, because Holland is not playing games. If you look at all that has been happening over the last couple of months, where specifically with the appointment of Julian Woodley, everybody knows that Julian still attends Democratic Party meetings. I was the leader of the Democratic Party, and after 10-10, I've seen Julian at those meetings. And this is a whole conspiracy whereby the Kingdom representative and Plaster is doing whatever they can to undermine the government that you have. And you have to be inside to really see the workings of it. Somebody on the street with all the propaganda that is going on will not see exactly what's going on. But to take an example, there was a stalemate within government, and steps were taken to speak with the Kingdom representative in December, saying, listen, there's a stalemate, let's get together and speak. We spoke with him on a Sunday. The following day, he came out with a press release blasting the government. Even though we had an accord the day before that we are going to do certain things and we're going to work together. And then you hear people saying that this government is always fighting. We don't want to fight. It's not our goal to fight. But we are not going to back down. Because Statia people are always known for people that that when you do something, we are going to give you the opportunity to do what is right. But when you don't do what is right, we lose confidence in you. And once we lose confidence in a certain process, it's difficult for us to trust that process. And that's the situation that we are in. And even with the appointment of Van Zwol, who's the Secretary General of Interior of Statia, we had a very good meeting with him, and the agreements that we had in place, we felt they were things that we could work with. Even though Van Putten was always saying, boy, or you could trust the Dutch. I don't trust the Dutch. And to a certain degree that have came out to be so. Whereby we know now that the Minister of Interior Affairs, Mr. Plastek, has arbitrarily appointed 2 wise men to come and mediate between the government and Holland. How can someone mediate for me and I don't even know who this person is? You know? So I know for sure myself and Van Putten will be in Holland in the upcoming week, and we ask your prayers, because it is our desire, it's our goal on the 19th that we would have some meetings with the fractions, the new fractions that they have in the second chamber, that at least to try to lobby. And because I don't see us accepting the wise men, because they don't belong to us. We don't know those people. We don't know them. Even though I know the governor of Aruba, Rufinol, personally, I don't know that contact with him. I don't know what his beliefs are when it comes to the process that we are in. So I'm just saying that to let you know what is playing within government at this time. And if you talk about the budget, we have a letter of intent that is recognized by Holland. Because if the Lance Advocate recognizes a letter of intent that was signed with the island government and New Star, whereby New Star is paying money into the government coffers based on this letter of intent, and then you are telling me this money that I'm getting in, I cannot put it on my budget, then where's the money going? Because the Dutch has a law that government cannot accept any gifts. So they are paying based on a certain agreement. So I am telling the Dutch government, listen, if they are paying based on this agreement, then even if it's a letter of intent, it doesn't have to be the agreement, the ultimate agreement. Based on the letter of intent, I am putting this amount of 2.6 million into my budget. And the agreement calls for an amount of 3.8 million. And they are telling me, listen, you can't do that. So my premise that I'm going to go out from in the Netherlands is going to be, do you think they would do that to Unilever? Unilever is the second biggest company in Holland. They would never do that to a company like that in Holland. When you're talking about a company that brings in over $1 billion on a yearly basis to the Dutch economy. And how much does New Star bring into our company? Comparably, New Star brings in more to our economy than Unilever brings into the Dutch economy. So why are you doing this to us that we have to wait 2 months for to get an agreement that we can move forward in approving our budget? So those are all stalemate tactics. Even what took place here during the week on Thursday, we don't want to take the governor to court. But when you come when you come to certain situations in life, you have to make a decision. You have to take bold steps. And I think in the whole process that we are in, Station has been making bold steps. The bold with even fighting this embedding into the Dutch Constitution. That's a bold step. And even going to the United Nations, those are bold steps. Taking the governor to court, those are unheard things. But we have decided that we are going to take whatever measure it takes to make sure that our people are respected and seen as stalwarts within the world order. Because we need to, you have to demand respect. If you don't demand respect, you don't get no respect. They're going to walk all over you. But we have a lot of distinguished gentlemen here, and I'm not going to take up all the time because this fight that we are in, it has to be united. And I'm glad that you all came out and you are standing behind us because we cannot do it alone. We need your support the whole way. And before I close, I've heard some people saying, yes, somebody came to me and said, Ruben, I hear you going back with the DP. I just had to laugh because, I mean, it's so, listen. I had the opportunity to be the leader of the Democratic Party on paper. And I put that aside because I see what was going to happen in terms of just leaving the Netherlands, come in and do whatever they want. And I feel I'm better than that. And if I go back and if I go back to the DP, then what do I stand for? I stand for nothing. My colleague came to me and myself and Derek and all of those that was in the party, he came, he said, listen, we got to keep the air open so that to talk to the Democratic Party. I said, well, Zandam, I don't have a problem with you talking to the Democratic Party, but let me tell you something. Count me out. And I had a seat. So I wasn't too preoccupied with what he did. He could talk to who he want. Because at the end of the day, I know there was no way that I could see eye to eye with the process the Democratic Party is in. So I'll leave it here for now. And we are in this fight until the end. I believe that. I don't care who's not in it, I am in it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Merkman. Don't he look a little like Denzel? And he made a very powerful speech, and he deserved a round of applause. Invite our guest from Benin, Mr. Fenice. We would like to hear what Mr. Fenice has to say. Mr. Fenice, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you to having me on your beloved island. Charles, Clyde, a lot of friends. I'm here with you here based on Bonaire is going through the same process. Bonaire is in the same boat with Statia. Bonaire is going to do the same hardships as Statia. On Bonaire, we have also, let's say, major problems in this respect with Statia. One thing I want to congratulate Statia, that Statia government is with the station people. It's not the other way around. The rights are of the people. Statia government is standing up for the rights of the people. So they need your support for them to keep fighting for your rights. Only thing the Dutch government is doing now to try to take them down to stop the fight for your rights. That it has been doing all along our history. That's why today we're divided. That's why I'm sitting here today, because supposedly we used to be supposed to be a country where we together have built out our country, emancipated ourselves, built our nation. But the Dutch created a system that today we're divided. We all fighting for our own little piece to survive. That's what the Dutch did. So if you keep united with your government, they will stand for your rights, and one way your rights will prevail. And our island is different. We don't have the government outside. That's why I'm sitting here today to fight still for the right, but the right doesn't belong to the government either. It belongs to the people. So that's why we all can fight for the right. But together with the government, you're stronger to get your rights respected, because the only objective that the government is, however you put it or turn it, is to respect, protect, and comply with your rights. Nothing else government has to do. That's simple. Respect, protect, and comply with your rights. Our island, Bonaire, we have some different issues. I know we don't have much time to go into details because there's so much happening, but shortly we have some serious issues that our situation is a little more urgency than Statia. For example, we have they have the open immigration policy. It's also count for Statia, but the KLM doesn't land in Statia, it lands in Bonaire. Yes, every day KLM lands there, and those Dutch people, European Dutch, we call them then, because there's a misunderstanding. Good is being explained. That's we're telling the people today, you're not a Dutch. You are a Bonairean. You have a Dutch nationality and a Dutch passport. You are stationed. You are Bonairean. Dutch are people who live there and they have their own culture and their own way to talk. You are stationed. You're Bonairean. You have your own language, your own culture, your own identity, your own norms and values. It's not theirs. It's yours. So we have to start to straighten this out, because they fully you are Dutch, and to give you, to take everything from you. No, everything is from us, from the kingdom. All your possessions are yours. The island's yours, the natural resources yours, even all the richness of the kingdom is yours. You have to, that is what Mr. Bryson is going at. So coming back, we on Bonaire, we have the problem that our immigration rate raised over 400%. Our population doubled in less than 10 years. All Dutch Europeans coming in. They are taking over everything. The Bonairean businesses has been killed, disappeared by law. By law. By law. So by law, they regulate the Chamber of Commerce, placing measurement in that no small business can survive anymore, everything. Now we have Dutch painters painting buildings in Bonaire. Yes. Yes, painting buildings. So far we're going. The high position they took already over. So it's very urgent, our situation. On the other side, two small examples of what they're promoting. The first thing they say, yes, we make the education better, we made the healthcare better. That's what they're saying. Yes. What we're saying is that what they did with us is they adjust the education system to their norms, so the Dutch people can migrate to Bonaire with every family say, no, it's not a problem, it's same as yours. But what happened to our own people, kids? They created a system where now they're being valued, normed to a higher education level based on the ability of Dutch, speaking and technical Dutch. So we are being planned out of the system, segregated. That's happening now at us. So it's just our people are just being put on the lowest level and plan for the future. It's very heavy what's going on. Shortly I explain, there's so much going on that I know we have not much time to go into all of this today, but I want to, the other part they say healthcare is better. This is the hard facts. On the, now with the new healthcare on the Dutch rule, I call it, our death rate rose over 60%, over 60%, more than doubled. Euthanasia law is not a taboo. It's being promoted. It's being promoted, advised to the people, and we feel that it's even being done on the people, because when the elderly people come in connection with the health system, they won't make it at the end. This is our reality on Bonaire. It's not something emotionally, this facts. We're living it. There are a lot of experiences of people telling these stories about this. And reasons, last example about that, a burial was a folkloric, cultural thing. Everybody know each other, we all get together, a burial. Now you have to skip burials, 2 days. So the whole week. We cannot, even you have to say, I don't go to that. The high one, to understand this, again, 2 weeks ago, 5 people die on a day in Bonaire. 5 people. Normally, in 6 months, you have not much death. So this, I don't think is a coincidence anymore. We are in a deep problem. It's like a substitution of our population with deaf population is going on. So we think that Eustatius what is doing here, we will support them fully, because we don't have a government on our side. We have to stop this. We have to stop this. The history of the Dutch says it all, that they have no mercy, they have no feelings for us as humans, of Bonaireans, of the people. So it's not we hate Dutch things. No, it's just we have to stand for our rights and try to protect our history, where we come from, that we can stick together to get out of this together. This is serious, serious matter going on now. Okay, coming to the end. Yes. Yes, we will stand. We won't give in. We will fight. Coming to the end, we are moving this issue. We are moving this issue to another platform, because we're feeling that alone we cannot fight this. So what we're trying to do now, we working on now to get other brothers from the kingdom, other countries from around to understand us. So this message has to keep going out to everybody to understand what's going on. That's when they will hear it, understand it, feel for us, and willing to help us. Because now we need help from everyone to stand together for this struggle that we do not deserve. We have to get out of this together. So at the end, we also start a movement to get to follow and together with Stacia see how we can get out of the situation. And today we have made a similar position as Stacia, and I want to, at the end, if possible, to give it to our government, the government of Stacia as a opponent, to understand where we stand and how they can support us as much, because they have we have the government who can take these steps and help us as much as they can. And thank you again for giving me opportunity. And Charles, Mr. Simmons, Markman, Clyde, don't see Clyde anymore. Keep it up. Don't back down. The people are behind you. Go for it.
Thank you very much. Now we have a very important announcement to make. Commissioner Charles Woodley going to introduce our distinguished guest. So let's give our distinguished guest a big round of applause and let Mr. Woodley introduce him. Here he is. The floor is yours, Mr. Commissioner.
Good day to all present. Good day to the panel. Dr. Corbin, welcome. Mr. James Finis, welcome. It was just a little over a year ago that we were in Bonaire on the 30th of May. And it was indeed, you know, a moment in history. We all could recall what took place on that day. To the honorable council members here and those not present, good afternoon to you. To Stacia and to those listening via the internet or the radio, a pleasant good afternoon to you. To those of you here in the hall, welcome and good afternoon to you. I had the pleasure, distinct pleasure, of meeting Mr. Bryson a few years ago. And it's something about when someone thinks really fast, you know, they catch my attention. When someone thinks way further. And every time I listen to Mr. Bryson, I realize that he was always thinking a step further. And I could recall when we had certain discussions in coalition meetings. And I said to the coalition, we need to really look at the wall best. And maybe we should think about burning it. I could recall they said, you're radical, you know, you're a bit crazy. But I said to them, if you read the wall best, and you read a human rights book, you would realize that this book is not written. This book of laws are not written for us. And, you know, to make a long story short, because these men here came and, you know, they came to bring information to Stacia. And you have heard us on many occasions, and I think the councilman did a very good job of bringing the point across. But what I want to say today is that this information that you're going to receive today, primarily now from Mr. Dionisio Bryson and the other members of the panel, is information for your future and for your children's future. Mr. Dionisio Bryson is passionate about what he does. If you go in to Dionisio's office, you're not coming out without having a stack of papers in your hand and a lot of highlight notes as to the parts that you need, because he believes in an educated people. He believed in people that knows their rights. He have studied. He has mastered his trade. And today, we will not cut him short, or any other member of the panel, to bring to Stacia a new light, a new way of looking at your rights. I am honored this afternoon to present to you, whether you're in this hall or listening via the World Wide Web or via the radio, I would like to present to you today the Honorable Mr. Denicio Bryson.
Thank you for the kind words, Commissioner. I'm quite flattered. And I must say that of all the islands in the Antilles, I feel most at home in Stacia. And the reason for that is because growing up in Aruba, my mother was an Adventist, and I got to know many Stacia people. And every one of you in here has a family member who I know. And that is why when I come to Stacia, I feel so at home. I don't feel like I'm a stranger. Because from the time you tell me your name, I know either a cousin that was in Aruba, a brother, a sister. I know each and every person on Stacia has a relative that I know. And that is why I feel so comfortable here. Commissioner Merkman said some words that touched me. Councilman Merkman said some words that touched me. And based on that, I went to my archives and I dug up what you see on the screen there. He spoke about struggle and victory. And I'm going to read this. It's up on the screen, but I love it because I must admit that I read this guy book every day. Yeah, it's Mao Zedong's Little Red Book. And the reason why I do that is because regardless of what you hear about him, anybody who can unite and lead at the time China had a population of 500 million, they're a billion now. Anybody who can lead 500 million people and convince them to follow him must be an extraordinary person. We have here Mr. Van Putten. We have 3,500 people. You know how difficult it is to lead people. It's an extremely difficult task. And anybody who could unite and get 500 million people to follow him must be somebody of extreme persuasive skills. And here's what he said. Historically, all reactionary forces on the verge of extinction invariably conduct a last desperate struggle against the revolutionary forces. And some revolutionaries are apt to be deluded for a time by this phenomenon of outward strength but inner weakness, failing to grasp the essential fact that the enemy is nearing extinction while they themselves are approaching victory. This puts me in mind of where Stacia is today. You are approaching victory and your enemies are nearing extinction. Basically, today my talk is called Double Punch. And I want to let you know that today is actually Stacia's Independence Day. Yeah. After you hear what I'm going to tell you, you're going to understand why. It's a great day for the kingdom because it also means independence for Holland. This is going to be a relief for them. They will no longer have to struggle with these troublesome islands. It will be freedom for Curaçao, Aruba, Bonaire, Aruba, and all because Stacia took the initiative to stand up. You are doing the right thing. Continue what you are doing. Victory is just around the corner. And why do I say that? It is because you have a great friend and ally on the world stage. You know who that is? The United Nations and the United Nations Charter. It contains 2 articles that when you put them together, deliver a devastating punch. That is why it is called Double Punch. Article 73 and 103. you have to use them in combination. I must confess to you that it was only recently that I have been exposed, especially to Article 103. I never heard about it before. And it is odd because it is called the United Nations Supremacy Clause. And it says this: obligations under the Charter prevail at all times. Obligations under the Charter prevail at all times. That's a very deep statement. And it says that anytime there's a conflict, you deviate from the Charter, you come back to the obligation of the Charter prevails. Okay? But let me go back to where this all started. And this here. In the beginning, there was the UN Charter. And there was a chapter in this United Nations Charter that all the countries of the world got together and formed in 1945. And it was basically an agreement of how to live in peace, in harmony in the world. After the Second World War ended, they realized that this was not a way to live. It had caused great devastation and loss. And they said, you know what? We're going to form a world organization, and its mission is going to be to protect the peace and harmony of the world. And all the nations said it's a great idea, and everybody joined. And then something happened. They took it upon themselves to dedicate a complete chapter to countries such as Statia, which they called non-self-governing territories. They were former colonies at that time. And the Unions decided and put in that charter that all of these territories must have a full measure of self-government. Underline that word. It's going to come back again. That was the objective of Charter 11, and it was therefore an objective of the United Nations Charter that Statia, Aruba, Curaçao should have a full measure of self-government. Nothing else. That is what was the objective. Now, how do we know these things? The United Nations itself told the government of the Netherlands exactly what was expected of it with respect to these islands. So when you hear, and when I heard Mr. Plasterk, not Mr. Plasterk, some Dutch delegation went to the UN to ask what to do with these islands, I knew he was trying to pull a fast one on us. But I had done my research, and I had gone into the vaults and found all the UN resolutions that relate to these islands. They are available, and they are still in effect today. And the important one was a resolution called Resolution 747 that was done on November the 27th, 1953. Still in force today. And I will show you that resolution now on the screen. That's what it looks like. And I'm going to zoom in on the important part. I gave everybody in here a copy of it because it is a resolution that explains exactly and removes all doubt about what should be the status of these islands. In that box, it says the following: expresses to the Netherlands government its confidence that as a result of the negotiations, a new status will be attained by the Netherlands, Antilles, and Suriname, representing, and we come back to it again, a full measure of self-government. And then here's the killer phrase: in fulfillment of the objectives set forth in Chapter 11 of the Charter. So we know that there is only one status that is available to these islands: a full measure of self-government. There is nothing new, nothing else. We know Resolution 1514, 1541, 2625, and so forth, but all they are just repetitions of this same objective. The objective never changed. It is the same objective today. When I'm finished. But you can ask the question anyhow, since it's right there. Okay. Let us dig into this particular. It means any status, regardless to what status emerges, it must come with a full measure of self-government. This is why referenda are useless, because regardless to what status you take, it must always be with that full measure of self-government. You don't need a referendum, because whether you're a best, whether they try to make you in, they try to embed you, whatever they do, they cannot touch that full measure of self-government. It is inviolate. And I will show you how Article 103 guarantees that that particular full measure of self-government of Statia is untouchable. What it means also is that anything that is in conflict with that measure of that full measure of self-government cannot work. But I'll get to that in a little while. This particular resolution creates for Statia the right to a full measure of self-government, because it's the objective of the charter. It also creates for the Netherlands the obligation, I'll come back again to that word, to fulfill the objective of the charter. They have to fulfill that objective. And what is the problem now? This is the first time in 62 years that someone has brought these things to their attention. Who did it? The Island Council of Eustatius wrote them and brought this to their attention. Up to now, they have not answered. They cannot. Because Article 103 then makes these obligations prevail over everything else, including head statute, the wall best, the fin best. Everything has to clear out for Statia's right to a full measure of self-government. Sending budgets to the minister, having a governor, all of those things are in conflict with your full measure of self-government, and Article 103 then says that right prevails. It's a closed loop. You cannot even make a contract to escape it, because that contract itself is in conflict with that right of full measure self-government. Even if you want to give it away, you can't. It's a closed loop. Nothing can touch that. And that's why I'm told you, you are independent and you don't know it yet. There are some processes to be followed for it to be fully realized, but that is the key message. I'm going to show you a graphic of how this particular closed loop looks. Let me see here. Let me go down a little bit. Look at this. How Article 73 and 103 create a closed loop. You see that white box that says obligations under the charter? There are 3 obligations. There are more, but there are 3 key obligations that guarantees Statia a complete measure of self-government. The first obligation is that you should have a full measure of self-government. Number 2, Article 73 says the interests of the inhabitants of Statia are paramount. And another resolution says that if the kingdom wants to associate with Statia, it must be done on the basis of absolute equality. Under absolute equality, there can be no higher supervision, no rules that can be imposed, because in a relation among equals, that cannot work. It is in conflict with that right. Now, these are the basic rights. You can either agree with them, you see the box that goes to agree, everything is okay. But if you have a conflict with them, the box on this side over here, Let me make it a little bigger so you can probably see it. Here we go. Okay. When you are in conflict with them, look what happens. And I'm going to show you some examples of laws that are in conflict with that full measure self-government. The best island construction is in conflict with it. Openbare lichaam in conflict. Het statute, the position of a governor, articles 43, 44, 50, 51, they are in conflict with that right to a full measure self-government. This was known already because during the debates about the Charter in 1955, these things were pointed out to the government of the Netherlands. Finbes, Walbes are in conflict with that right. What happens when you're in conflict? It kicks you back up, and your right to a full measure self-government prevails. So they can't escape, because every time you get a conflict, you get sent back up to the chief rule. And that is how Article 73 and 103 create this loop. You cannot escape it, because every time you're in conflict, your full measure self-government prevails and protects you. Every time you're in conflict, you have to go back to your interests are paramount. Something is in conflict, it goes back. Absolute equality. If I'm in absolute equality with you, you cannot impose nothing on me. So, what is going to be the results of this? There's two things. We have the United Nations Charter. This is a process, of course, because it's all new information. This is the first time in 62 years people are hearing this stuff, that these laws are in conflict with your United Nations guaranteed and mandated right to a full measure self-government. So it's going to be a process to get this across to the people concerned. But thank God the United Nations has provisions for that. If there is any doubt, Statia has the complete right, and I'll explain you why, to go to the United Nations and ask the General Assembly, listen, I have this dispute. Please ask the International Court of Justice for an opinion. But I do not believe it will come to that stage, because now that this information is out, the Netherlands government will realize, but you know, this is great for me too. Let me just clear out of the way, allow them their full measure self-government, and we will have the peaceable kingdom. There will only be 3 points of interaction between us and the kingdom: defense, nationality, foreign affairs. But because of that absolute equality, it means this: the Minister of Foreign Affairs will be the Minister of the Kingdom of which we are a part. But since we are operating under the obligation, and these obligations, as you see under Article 103, they prevail over everything else. It means that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom must rotate. 1 year, a man from Statia; 1 year, somebody from Bonaire; the next year, somebody from Saba; then somebody from Holland, because we are, according to the United Nations obligations, obliged to operate under absolute equality. Those positions rotate. It also means that the representative of the United Nations sitting in New York cannot be a Dutchman all the time. Every year it rotates among us. 1 year a Statia man, 1 year a man from Bonaire, etc., because of that obligation to operate under absolute equality. It also means that the ambassador to Moscow cannot just be a Dutch person. 1 year it could be a Statia person too, because we are in a kingdom and we are operating under absolute equality. Yeah? It would not happen easily, but guess what? I have full faith and confidence in the Netherlands' respect and love for law. And once they understand law and understand that these things are UN mandated, out of their respect for law, I know that they will follow the law, because they are a people who believe in rules and in following laws. So I have no doubt whatsoever that someday the ambassador to Moscow will be somebody from Statia. Because we are supposed to operate under absolute equality. It just cannot be people from Holland alone. That's not absolute equality. Everybody should have a chance. The last thing I want to say before I give the floor to other speakers is this. We are aware that, these things are new. We have to work, and I'm asking you to work along and support your commissioners as they embark on this. Statia is making history. After today, the kingdom would not be the same anymore. You're going to have 6 independent islands, independent within the kingdom, exactly in compliance with what the United Nations Charter states, with a full measure of self-government. And we will have the peaceable kingdom. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Denisio. That was a wonderful rendition. I'm glad you had the chance to come and talk to us, because I met you some time ago in St. Martin, and it was really a pleasure talking to you. And like everyone have now noticed, you are a great scholar. You're a gentleman and a scholar. So we have the right kind of people in our corner. Again, thank you very much. And you are always welcome in our country. Now let us go to the next speaker. Oh, anyone would like to ask Mr. Denisio some questions? Was it clear to everyone what Mr. Denisio said? Yes? All right. Okay, that was a little misunderstanding. You want to ask me? Okay.
Question for Mr. Bryson. You stated that that Holland, I think in the Article 747 says the cessation of the transmission of information on Article 73 of the Charter in respect of the Netherlands, Antilles, and Suriname. What is your respect, seeing that we are not the Netherlands, Antilles no more? How would you, in other words, say in Dutch, pat this aan?
Oh, we are just successor states. We are the legal heirs or the legal successors to the Netherlands, Antilles.
Understood.
Okay.
Were you satisfied with the answer? Good. Now, Mr. Charles Woodley would like to ask a question. Go right ahead. The floor is yours, Commissioner.
Mr. Bryson, there's two questions I would like to ask just for the public consumption. Mr. Bryson, can the Netherlands stop monies coming to the island by us changing the status? First question. Can the Netherlands stop all monies coming to the island if we look for a full measure of self-government? That's the first question. I will let you answer it first.
Not according to Resolution 1514 or 1541. It says this, that no type of economic, military, or any reprisals should be taken against a country that seeks to exercise its right to independence. Now, you'll ask me, why do I use that term independence? And I'll show you a little graphic to answer that question very quickly. Look at this. You see, let me make it a little smaller so everything could fit neatly on the screen. You see that graphic? A full measure of self-government can be achieved by independence, association, or any other form. So when I say independence is only one of the ways in which you could achieve that full measure of self-government. Association leads to the same thing, and any other form, integration or whatever, it leads you back. You must always remain with that full measure of self-government. And to answer his question, yes, if you were to exercise your right, Article 1541 states that in that event, a state may not take any type of reprisals against you, neither military nor economic. And the Netherlands is an honorable state, and they knew these things when they went into these deals with us. So I don't think that they would, want to become what we call legibus solutus. In Latin, that means unbound by law, lawless, an international outlaw.
Another question
Yeah.
to you, Mr. Bryson. Is it possible for you to lose your Dutch passport if you do not wish to lose your Dutch passport?
Absolutely not. Because all that is going to happen in this particular status is that you will be acting within your UN mandated rights. The kingdom will remain exactly as it is. The only thing that will happen is that any law, any measure that is in conflict with your right to a full measure of self-government becomes inoperative. So from tomorrow, Monday morning, the governor could, once he understands this and he's an honest guy, he would apologize, close the office, and stop getting in your way. Mr. Plasterk, once he understands this, eventually he would realize that he's violating the United Nations Charter, and also it would be a relief for him. You would no longer have to send any budgets to him because it violates your right to that full measure of self-government. That is the supreme goal, objective of the Charter, and nothing may or can violate that. For 62 years it has been done. I don't know if it's because of ignorance or malice, but now that the information is out, it will stop.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to play the devil advocate because on one way you understand a bit, because can you imagine I'm giving you all this money, but I have no right to tell you, listen, you have to budget, you have to do this, you have to do that. So my question is, when they give you money, can they interfere and tell you, listen, you have to follow that rule, or I'm not giving you any money? I mean, you just said they can't do that, but I still understand a little bit, because if I have a kid and I give my child money, I would like to tell my child, to be, no, I'm not the child anymore, but what I'm saying is, if I have a child and I give my child pocket money, I would want to explain to my child, the best way to spend it instead of squandering it. So my question is, can they then interfere and tell you, listen, we are giving you all this money? Because I can't imagine someone giving me all that money and I do what I want with it. I mean, I like the part where she says it's ours, but I mean, you're given, without jokes now, all jokes aside, they gave you money or allowance or whatever they want to call it, and so they have no rights whatsoever to interfere. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm going to answer that question in two short ways. The first one is this, and do not take me wrong. If you think any Dutch person is going to give you money, you are nuts. Never happened. You are loco. A white European is going to give you money? Where do you hear that craziness from? Whenever they tell you they're giving you money, it is some scam, some trick. They're not going to give you any money. So don't ever repeat that. Say, if I think that, I'm loco, and I'm not loco. They will never do that. Give you money? When will that ever happen? Anytime they say they're giving you money, it is always some scam, some trick, something to circle the money back to themselves or something. All you are is a conduit for them to come back. They throw it and they run and they catch it themselves. You could hear the money passing, but so don't ever mention that again. They will give you zero, nothing, zilch. Then let me answer the second part. If any kind of financial transaction were to take place, it will be on a commercial basis, on the same basis as when you go to the bank and get a mortgage. The bank doesn't come to tell you how to run your life. They give you the mortgage and you pay them and that's it. That's the kind of relationship you will have. It will be a purely commercial relationship. The last thing I want to mention is this. That obligation that the Netherlands has also creates an obligation for Statia. Statia has an obligation also not to violate the charter, and by doing that, they cannot work along with a governor because that's violating their own rights. So by working along with these laws, they are helping Holland to become an international outlaw. So they have to help Holland by telling them, listen, we will not cooperate with this because you are acting in conflict with the charter and we cannot cooperate with that. They have an obligation also to uphold the United Nations Charter. And that should be also made clear that you cannot go along with these measures because they are causing me to violate the charter. Apart from it being a violation of my rights, I am assisting you in doing something that is wrong.